Welcome, friend. Imagine your room right now. Shadows soft on the walls, the gentle hum of a fan, or the hush of night air filtering through a window. The day's noise has quieted, and the stillness feels like mist settling after rain. If your mind has been rushing or your heart heavy, these next few hours are your invitation to step away from that busyness. These stories are here to carry you into a deeper calm, where rest can finally find you. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, share your location and local time in the comments below. It's always comforting to know how many of us are lying back under the same night sky, breathing together. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Lanterns in the mist. This is where our path begins. Picture a foggy valley at night. The air is thick with drifting mist, softening edges, hiding familiar landmarks. You cannot see far ahead, and the road feels uncertain. Yet, dotted across the haze, lanterns glow faintly. Each one lights only a few steps, but taken together, they create a way forward. Life often feels like this valley. We search for certainty, wanting to see the whole path ahead, but the truth is, we never do. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence shows us that everything shifts. Plans, moods, even the ground beneath our feet. Instead of fearing the mist, we learn to walk by the glow of what is present. A Zen story tells of a traveler caught in fog. He asked a villager how to reach the next town. The villager handed him a lantern and said, "This will not clear the fog. It will only show you where to place your feet." The traveler grumbled at first, but soon realized the wisdom. Peace comes not from erasing uncertainty, but from trusting the light you already hold. Think of how often stress builds from demanding clarity. We want to know how tomorrow's conversation will unfold, how a decision will ripple years ahead. But detachment teaches us that the mist itself can be accepted. When we walk step by step, guided by the lanterns we do have, rest becomes possible. Here's a practice for tonight. Close your eyes and imagine yourself holding a lantern. Inhale, picture its glow spreading softly around you. Exhale, take a step forward into the mist. Whisper inwardly, "This step is enough." With each breath, feel the ground steady beneath you, even though the future remains unseen. In some Zen monasteries, there is a quirky practice during night ceremonies. Monks walk slowly in single file, each holding a lantern. The fog in the mountain air often makes the light halo outward, so that the monks appear as floating circles of glow moving silently through the dark. No one rushes. No one worries about the path. Each monk trusts the steps lit before him. You can imagine yourself among them tonight, moving gently, guided by your own quiet lamp. A reflective question arises. What if you stopped waiting for the fog to clear before you allowed yourself to rest? Could it be that peace comes not from seeing the whole path, but from accepting just the glow of this moment? Picture it now. A winding trail across the valley floor. Mist curls around the trees, thick and silver in the moonlight. A lantern swings gently in your hand, lighting the stones at your feet. You walk slowly, no need to hurry. Ahead, other lanterns flicker faintly, enough to guide you forward. The fog does not frighten you anymore. It feels protective, like a soft blanket wrapping the world. Modern life often insists we must know everything. Plans drawn, answers found, maps complete. But Zen whispers, walk into the mist. The lantern in your hand is enough. So tonight, as you lie back, breathe deeply and trust the glow you carry. Whisper softly, this step is enough. And let yourself be led into stillness, one gentle breath at a time. The bamboo grove is a place where quiet strength reveals itself in the simplest of ways. Imagine standing among tall stalks of bamboo in the night. The air is cool, the moonlight filters through, and each stalk sways gently as the wind brushes by. You hear the rustle, soft, rhythmic, almost like waves. No matter how hard the wind pushes, the bamboo bends. It does not resist stubbornly, and it does not break. When the wind passes, the stalks rise tall again, rooted yet flexible. This is the teaching of resilience through detachment. Life will send winds of change, storms of difficulty, and gusts of worry. If we cling too tightly to how things should be, we become brittle, snapping under pressure. But when we bend, allowing life to flow as it does, we return upright once the moment passes. A Zen story tells of a master walking with a student after a storm. Trees with rigid trunks had cracked and fallen, while the bamboo swayed and survived. The master said, "Be like the bamboo. Stand tall, but know how to bend." This simple image carries wisdom we can rest in. Strength is not in clinging, but in yielding. Think about the moments when negative energy weighs on you. Maybe someone's words struck too hard, or perhaps your day did not unfold as you hoped. If you tighten around the event, replaying it, resisting it, you grow stiff and weary. But if you bend, acknowledge it, accept its passing, you give yourself the space to return upright in your own time. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale slowly, imagining yourself as a tall stalk of bamboo. Exhale, feel your body soften as though bending in the breeze. Whisper inwardly, I bend, I return. Repeat until your muscles loosen, your breath lengthens, and you feel more like the bamboo, rooted yet free to sway. In some Zen gardens, monks plant groves of bamboo not just for beauty, but for sound. When the wind blows, the stalks knock gently against each other, creating a natural music, soft tapping, swaying, sighing. The monks listen, taking it as a reminder that even in motion, harmony is possible. This practice of listening is a way to learn from nature itself. A reflective question arises. What part of your life are you holding so rigidly that it risks breaking you? What would it feel like to bend a little, to allow life's breeze to move you without taking your roots away? Picture yourself now in the moonlit grove. Bamboo surrounds you, tall and endless, their leaves shimmering silver as they sway. The wind rises and the whole grove moves together in rhythm. You sway with them, not resisting, not clinging, just moving as the night asks. The sound is soothing, a lullaby written by the earth and air. Modern life often praises unbending strength, never yielding, never softening. But Zen whispers that real strength is found in flexibility. The bamboo thrives not because it resists, but because it bows gracefully and rises again. So tonight, if a storm lingers in your mind, breathe deeply. Be like the bamboo. Bend, sway, then rise tall once more. Let the wind of worry pass and return to your calm center. Stone steps in moonlight show us the beauty of moving slowly and with care. Imagine an old temple built into the hillside. A winding path of stone steps leads up to its gate. At night, when the moon shines, each stone gleams faintly, edges softened by centuries of wear. The steps are uneven, some higher, some cracked, but they carry countless feet safely to the top. To walk here at night requires patience, no rushing, no skipping. Each foot is placed with mindfulness, each breath steady. This is the practice of grounded presence. Life often tempts us to hurry, racing from task to task, from thought to thought, without noticing where we step. The Buddha taught that to be mindful in every step is to be fully alive in the moment. When we slow down, even an uneven path can feel steady. A Zen story tells of a student who complained that his journey was too long and difficult. His master invited him to climb the temple steps at night with a single candle. The student rushed, stumbled, and nearly fell. The master lit another candle and said, "Walk slower. Place each foot as if it were the only step in the world." The student discovered that when he gave attention to just one step, the whole climb became peaceful. Think about how your mind sometimes leaps ahead, planning the whole climb before you've even taken the first step. This creates tension, like carrying the weight of the entire staircase at once. Detachment invites you to rest in one step at a time, letting the journey unfold naturally. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine yourself lifting one foot. Exhale. Picture placing it gently on a glowing stone step. Whisper inwardly, "Just this step." Continue with each breath, climbing slowly in your mind, steady and calm. By the time you reach the gate, your body feels lighter, your breathing slower. In some Zen monasteries, there's a quirky practice of night walking meditations. Monks move barefoot on stone paths, guided only by moonlight. The cool stone against their feet anchors them in the moment. They describe the sensation as the earth itself holding them, step by step. A reflective question arises. What would happen if you treated every step of your life like those moonlit stones, precious, unhurried, and complete in itself? Would the path feel less overwhelming? Picture yourself now on that hillside. The moon is bright, silvering the stones. Crickets sing in the grass, and the night air is crisp. You move slowly, each step deliberate, each breath in rhythm with the climb. You don't rush. You don't stumble. You simply arrive at each stone, one after another, until the path itself becomes peace. Modern life often encourages rushing, counting steps, measuring progress, always chasing the top. But Zen reminds us, the peace is not just at the temple gate. It is in every careful step along the way. So tonight, if your thoughts feel scattered, return to the stone steps in moonlight. Walk them slowly in your imagination. Place one foot then the next. Let the rhythm of the climb carry you into stillness until sleep itself feels like arriving at a quiet gate under the stars. The silent monastery garden is a place where even the smallest details carry a teaching. Imagine walking into a courtyard enclosed by wooden walls, lanterns flickering softly at the edges. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. A gravel path winds through patches of moss, a few stones carefully placed, a single pond reflecting the night sky. No voices disturb the space, only the sound of crickets and the occasional splash of a fish breaking the water's surface. This garden does not overwhelm the senses. Instead, it draws the mind inward. Each detail, moss, stone, lantern, water, seems to ask you to stop and notice. The Buddha often taught that when the mind quiets, clarity appears. The garden is a mirror of that teaching. In its stillness, the restlessness within begins to soften. A Zen story tells of a student who complained that meditation was boring. His master led him to a garden at dusk and asked him to sit by the pond. At first, the student saw nothing but still water. As time passed, he noticed ripples from tiny insects, the slow bloom of night flowers, the moon's reflection shifting as clouds drifted. By the end of an hour, he whispered, "The garden is alive." The master smiled and said, "So is your mind when you give it time to be still." Think of how often life feels noisy, not only from sounds, but from thoughts crowding in. We crave quiet, but fill the silence with devices, chatter, distractions. Detachment here means stepping back, creating a space where nothing demands attention except the present moment. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine walking along the gravel path of the garden. Exhale. Picture yourself sitting beside the pond. Whisper inwardly, "Here, I rest." With each breath, let the stillness of the garden seep into you, softening the edges of your thoughts until they feel like ripples fading on water. In some monasteries, there's a quirky practice of tending gardens in complete silence. Monks rake gravel, sweep leaves, or water moss without a single word. They say the silence is part of the work, an offering of calm that becomes woven into the space itself. When visitors enter later, they feel the peace that was planted there. A reflective question arises. What would happen if you tended your own inner garden in silence for a while each day? What details might reveal themselves if you stopped chasing noise and simply watched? Picture yourself now in that monastery courtyard, The lanterns glow, moths flutter near the light, and the pond reflects the moon like polished glass. You walk slowly, gravel crunching under your feet, then sit on a stone bench. The silence feels alive, as though the garden is breathing with you. Time loosens its grip, and all that remains is presence. Modern life often equates silence with emptiness. But Zen shows us that silence is full of awareness, of small wonders, of deep rest. So tonight, if your mind feels crowded, enter the silent garden in your imagination. Walk slowly, sit quietly, and let the stillness wash over you. Notice how even the quiet can feel like a gentle lullaby, guiding you deeper into rest. Candlelight on the stream offers us a way to release what we hold too tightly. Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet river at night. Villagers gather with small paper lanterns, each one carrying a single flame. One by one, they set their candles on the water, watching them float away. The stream carries the flickering lights into the distance, weaving them together into a slow-moving constellation on the surface of the water. People bow as they release their lanterns, offering their worries, sorrows, or hopes to the current. This image holds a deep teaching. Nothing we cling to can truly remain. The Buddha often compared clinging to holding a burning ember. It only hurts the hand. By setting our lanterns afloat, we learn to release the heat of our burdens and watch them drift where they need to go. A Zen story tells of a monk who carried grief after losing his teacher. He built a small paper boat, placed a candle inside, and sent it down the river. Each night for weeks, he did the same. One evening, he realized that his grief had softened. The flame in the boat had become a symbol of release, showing him how to let go without forgetting. Think of the negative energy you may still be holding. An argument, a regret, a moment of tension that keeps replaying in your mind. Imagine placing it gently into a lantern and setting it afloat. The stream does not destroy it. It carries it beyond your grasp, where it no longer weighs on your chest. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Picture yourself holding a small glowing lantern in your hands. Exhale. Place your worry into the flame. Whisper inwardly, "Go in peace." With each breath, imagine setting another lantern onto the water until the stream glows with your release. In some Zen communities, there is a quirky ritual of writing worries or wishes on leaves, then placing them into running water. The leaves float away, carrying the words beyond the writer's control. The act is playful, yet profound. It teaches that life itself can hold what we cannot. A reflective question arises. What lanterns are you still clutching tonight? Could you trust the stream to carry them for you, even if only for a while? Picture yourself now at the riverbank. The night is calm, stars reflected in the water. You kneel, place a lantern on the stream, and watch it drift. Others float beside it, glowing softly. Soon, the water carries them beyond sight, leaving only ripples and moonlight. In that moment, your chest feels lighter, your breath steadier. Modern life often urges us to hold everything, to manage, control, and solve it all alone. But Zen whispers, you can let go. The stream is wide enough to carry what you release. So tonight, as you lie back, close your eyes and see the candle-lit river. Place each worry into the glow, set it afloat, and let the water take it. The stream flows on, and you rest, unburdened, in its gentle song. The monk and the empty jar remind us that spaciousness is as valuable as fullness. Imagine a tall clay jar in the corner of a room. At first glance, it looks ordinary, cool to the touch, its surface faintly rough, shaped by steady hands. A visitor once asked a monk why he kept an empty jar beside his mat. The monk smiled and said, "Because emptiness is what makes it useful. It can hold water, flowers, or nothing at all. But if I insist on filling it, it cannot breathe." This is the teaching of release. We often try to fill our lives with more tasks, possessions, thoughts, believing that fullness equals meaning. Yet the Buddha taught that clinging to more only deepens our restlessness. Space, on the other hand, allows us to rest. An empty jar is ready for anything. A crowded one leaves no room for peace. A Zen story tells of a teacher who poured tea into a student's cup until it overflowed. The student exclaimed, "It's spilling everywhere." The teacher replied, "Like this cup, you are full of opinions and worries. Until you empty yourself, how can I offer anything new?" Think about the mental jars you carry. Some may be filled with old grudges, looping thoughts, or the constant noise of planning. When they overflow, rest feels impossible. Detachment means loosening your grip, pouring out what is no longer needed, and discovering the relief of space. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale, picture a jar inside your chest, heavy with clutter. Exhale, imagine tilting it gently, letting unneeded contents pour out as light. Whisper inwardly, "I make space." With each breath, feel the jar lighten until it rests empty and open. In some Zen monasteries, there's a quirky practice of keeping jars or bowls on altars, but never filling them. Visitors sometimes ask why the vessels are bare. The monks answer, because they remind us that we are not containers for burdens, but open spaces for peace. A reflective question arises. What jar inside you is too full tonight? What would happen if you poured out even a little, leaving space for quiet? Picture yourself in a lantern-lit hall. A clay jar sits before you, simple and empty. You place your hand on it, cool against your palm, and realize the beauty lies not in what it holds, but in what it leaves open. The silence inside the jar echoes like a soft invitation. Rest here, unburdened. Modern life often glorifies fullness, crowded schedules, stuffed closets, endless to-do lists. But Zen shows us the empty jar, simple, spacious, peaceful. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, let your jar be empty. Tilt out the clutter. Breathe into the space and discover how freeing it feels to hold nothing at all. Autumn leaves on the path remind us that letting go can be gentle, even beautiful. Imagine a forest trail in late autumn. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and soil. Leaves fall one by one, spiraling slowly before settling on the ground. The trees do not resist, they're falling. They let go with grace, preparing for winter's stillness. As you walk along the path, each step crunches softly, a sound both soothing and tender. This scene carries the essence of impermanence. The Buddha taught that clinging to what must change is the root of suffering. Yet when we accept change, we find peace. Just as trees do not grieve their leaves, we too can let go of what no longer serves us. A Zen story tells of a student sweeping leaves in a monastery courtyard. No matter how many he gathered, more kept falling. He grew frustrated and asked his teacher, "When will the leaves stop?" The teacher replied, "When the tree is bare." The lesson was clear. Some things cannot be forced. They end in their own time. Until then, we can only sweep gently and accept the cycle. Think of the leaves you carry. Perhaps old conversations that echo in your mind, regrets that cling, or worries that fall again and again, no matter how often you clear them. Instead of fighting, what if you allowed them to drop, trusting that the season of your heart will shift naturally? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine a golden leaf drifting down from a branch. Exhale. Picture it landing softly at your feet. Whisper inwardly, "I let it fall." With each breath, let another leaf drift away until the ground beneath you is covered in a gentle carpet of release. In some Zen gardens, monks purposely scatter leaves after sweeping. Visitors sometimes wonder why the paths are never spotless. The monks explain, perfection is not the goal. Balance is. A few leaves remind us that life is always in motion, and peace can be found in the midst of change. A reflective question arises. What leaves are still clinging to your branches tonight? Could you allow them to fall gracefully, trusting that new growth will come in its season? Picture yourself now walking through the autumn forest. Lanterns hang from tree branches, their light catching on drifting leaves. Each one falls with slow elegance, spinning in the air before touching the earth. You breathe deeply, the crisp air filling your lungs, and realize letting go can be as natural as autumn itself. Modern life often encourages holding on, saving every memory, storing every object, clinging to every stage. But Zen whispers, release is part of the cycle. Trees let go, not because they are weak, but because they are wise. So tonight, as you rest, imagine your leaves falling gently. Let them spiral down without regret. Trust the seasons of your own life and allow yourself to sleep in the stillness that follows. Release. The bell at dusk offers a sound that settles the body and calms the wandering mind. Imagine a quiet monastery perched on a hillside. As the sun dips low and the sky glows purple, a monk strikes a great bronze bell. The sound rolls out slowly, deep and resonant, echoing through valleys and trees. Birds pause mid-flight. Villagers stop in their steps. Even the leaves seem to hush. Each note lingers, then fades, leaving a deeper silence behind. This is the teaching of presence through sound. The Buddha often emphasized mindfulness of breathing, but sound too can anchor us. A single clear tone can draw the mind away from its rushing, back into the moment where peace waits. Like the bell, our lives do not need constant noise. Just one note, one breath, can bring us back to center. A Zen story tells of a student who asked his teacher how to find calm in chaos. The teacher led him to the bell tower, struck the bell once, and asked, "Where is the chaos now?" The student listened as the sound vibrated through his chest and felt his worries soften. The master explained, "The world is noisy, but one clear sound can remind you of silence." Think about your own mind tonight. Perhaps it has been filled with chatter, unfinished tasks, conversations replayed, plans for tomorrow. Each thought strikes like a small drum, restless and loud. What if, instead, you could hear a single bell, low, steady, asking nothing of you but to listen? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine drawing in the bell's sound. Exhale. Picture it resonating in your chest. Whisper inwardly, I return. Each breath becomes a note, each exhale a gentle fading of sound. Soon, your body feels in harmony with silence. In some Zen monasteries, there's a quirky custom. When the bell rings at dusk, everyone pauses. Cooks in the kitchen, monks in meditation, gardeners with tools in hand. For one breath, all freeze, listening to the note before resuming. That moment of collective stillness teaches that peace can arrive instantly, without effort. A reflective question arises. What if one sound tonight could guide you home to yourself? Could you let go of every other noise and simply rest in that vibration? Picture yourself now on the hillside. The bell tower rises above you, its bronze surface glinting in twilight. The monk strikes it once, and the sound flows into your bones. It hums, lingers, and then dissolves into the quiet night. You breathe with it, your thoughts falling silent as the sound fades. Modern life often fills our ears with constant noise, alerts, engines, conversations layered over one another. Yet Zen shows us the bell. One sound, one moment, enough to return us to peace. So tonight, if your mind feels noisy, close your eyes and listen inwardly for the bell at dusk. Let it resonate through you, clearing away the clutter, leaving only stillness where rest can begin. The old bridge over water shows us how support carries us when our own strength feels tired. Imagine a weathered wooden bridge stretching across a quiet river. Its planks creak underfoot, smoothed by the steps of countless travelers before you. Moss grows along the edges. Lanterns hang from posts, their light reflecting on the rippling current below. Though the bridge looks fragile, it has held generations, bearing the weight of every crossing without complaint. This image carries a teaching about trust. The Buddha often spoke of interdependence, the idea that nothing exists on its own, that everything supports and is supported. When we try to shoulder all burdens by ourselves, the weight can overwhelm us. But when we lean into the bridges offered by life, relationships, breath, teachings, even rest, we discover that we are never truly alone. A Zen story tells of a monk traveling through mountains. Exhausted, he reached a wide river and feared he couldn't cross. Then he saw a simple bridge. As he walked across, he whispered thanks for the unseen carpenters and travelers who had maintained it. "I thought I was walking alone," he said later, "but the bridge showed me I was already carried." Think about the bridges in your own life. Small kindnesses, steady friendships, teachings that hold you up when you feel weary. Detachment doesn't mean rejecting support. It means letting go of the belief that you must carry everything yourself. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine stepping onto the wooden bridge. Exhale. Feel the planks firm beneath your feet. Whisper inwardly, "I am supported." With each breath, let your body sink more deeply into the sense that the bridge carries you with ease. In some Zen temples, there is a quirky custom. Bridges are built with slight curves or uneven boards so that walkers must slow down, placing each step with care. The monks explain that a bridge is not just for crossing, but for learning to trust the ground even when it feels uncertain. A reflective question arises. What bridge is carrying you right now, even if you haven't noticed? Could you rest more deeply if you allowed yourself to trust it? Picture yourself now on the old bridge. The night air is cool, stars reflecting in the river. Lanterns sway gently above you, casting golden circles on the planks. Each step feels steady, no rush needed. The bridge creaks softly, not in protest, but as if humming its support. By the time you reach the far shore, your heart feels lighter, your body less burdened. Modern life often insists on independence, on carrying everything alone, proving strength by refusing help. But Zen whispers, trust the bridges. You are supported more than you realize. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine yourself crossing the old bridge. Step slowly, breathe deeply, and let the planks beneath you remind you that you are carried. The river flows on, the stars shimmer above, and the bridge holds you steady until you reach the quiet shore of rest. The lantern maker's lesson reminds us that creativity shines brightest when we loosen our grip on outcomes. Picture a small workshop at the edge of a village. The lantern maker works by candlelight, shaping thin ribs of bamboo, stretching colored paper across the frame. His hands are steady, but his eyes are soft, with patience. Some lanterns come out perfectly round, glowing evenly. Others warp slightly, edges bent, colors uneven. The lantern maker does not scowl at the imperfections. He lights each one, sets it by the window, and says, "Every lantern finds its glow." This is the teaching of non-attachment to results. The Buddha spoke of right effort, not straining, not clinging, but acting with presence. When we work with tight fists, chasing perfection, we exhaust ourselves. But when we create with ease, letting the outcome unfold, beauty appears in unexpected ways. A Zen story tells of a student who painted calligraphy daily, growing frustrated because his strokes were shaky. His teacher told him to paint with his left hand instead of his right. The student laughed at first, but soon noticed that the looseness brought life to the lines. When you stop forcing, the ink flows, the teacher explained. Think of the lanterns in your own life, the projects, relationships, or dreams you've tried to control too tightly. The more we demand a certain glow, the more stress we create. Detachment means trusting that the light will shine, even if the frame bends. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine holding a fragile lantern in your hands. Exhale. Picture lighting it with a gentle flame. Whisper inwardly. Let it glow. With each breath, let the lantern shine softly, imperfectly, beautifully. In some Zen festivals, there is a quirky custom. Villagers release lanterns of all shapes, crooked, faded, even torn, into the night. The sky fills with uneven lights, yet together they form a breathtaking constellation. No one cares which lantern is perfect. The beauty lies in the collective glow. A reflective question arises. What if you allowed your own lantern to shine as it is tonight? Could rest come from letting go of perfection and trusting your own light? Picture yourself now in the lantern maker's workshop. Shelves are filled with glowing orbs of every shape. Some lean, some wobble, some shine brightly, some dim. Yet the room feels alive with warmth. You light your lantern, watch the paper glow, and realize the lesson. It does not need to be flawless to bring peace. Modern life often pressures us to perfect everything, to polish every word, every task, every detail. But Zen reminds us, perfection is not the source of peace. Presence is. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine your lantern glowing softly beside you. Let it shine without judgment, imperfect yet radiant, and rest in the gentle light of knowing you are enough, exactly as you are. Footprints in morning frost show us how impressions are brief, even when they feel lasting in the moment. Imagine a meadow at dawn, the grass coated in a thin silver frost. The air is cold, crisp against your skin, and your breath drifts out in clouds. As you step onto the meadow, Your footprints press into the frost, leaving darkened trails behind. For a moment, they look permanent, but as the sun rises, the frost melts and the prints fade into the earth, leaving the meadow smooth once more. This is the teaching of impermanence and memory. The Buddha often explained that thoughts and emotions, no matter how sharp, pass in time. Just as frost dissolves in the sun, the impressions of our pain, joy, and worry eventually soften. What feels heavy tonight may fade tomorrow. To cling to these footprints is to believe the frost will last forever. But detachment teaches us to see them for what they are: temporary marks on a surface that will soon change. A Zen story tells of a young monk who grew angry after being insulted by a villager. He stomped through the frost, leaving deep tracks. Later, when he returned, the sun had risen, and his footprints were gone. His teacher pointed at the meadow and said, "See how quickly anger fades when you stop feeding it?" The monk realized his fury was no more lasting than the marks in the frost. Think of the impressions left in your own mind today. Maybe someone's words or your own self-criticism cut sharply. They may feel carved into your chest. But just like the frost, these marks are softer than they appear. With warmth, with time, they dissolve. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine stepping onto frosted grass. Exhale. Picture your footprint appearing, then slowly fading as sunlight warms it. Whisper inwardly, "This too will melt." Each breath becomes the rising sun, softening the edges of what seemed permanent. In some Zen monasteries, monks walk barefoot at dawn across frost or dew-covered fields. They do not try to avoid leaving footprints. They simply walk, knowing the marks will disappear. The practice is a reminder not to fear impressions left behind, because nature erases them in time. A reflective question arises. What footprints are you staring at tonight, believing they will never fade? Could peace come from trusting that the sun will rise and the frost will melt? Picture yourself now in that meadow. The frost glitters in pale gold as the horizon brightens. Your footsteps are there, dark against the silver grass. But as the light spreads, each print blurs, softens, and vanishes. Soon the meadow looks untouched, as if no weight ever pressed upon it. You realize that your burdens too can dissolve with time's warmth. Modern life often convinces us that every mistake, every scar, every impression is permanent. But Zen whispers, the frost always melts. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine your worries as footprints in morning frost. Let the sun rise over them. Watch them fade until nothing remains but smooth, shining grass. And let yourself rest in the comfort that nothing you carry is forever. The sleeping village shows how collective stillness can soothe even the busiest mind. Imagine a small mountain town after sunset. Lanterns in windows glow faintly, but the streets are empty. Shops are closed, tools are put away, animals curled safely in their pens. The only sounds are a dog sighing in its sleep and the slow rhythm of crickets in the grass. An entire community rests together, breathing in the same quiet night. This is the teaching of shared peace. The Buddha often reminded his followers that community, living in harmony with others, strengthens practice. When one person rests, it helps another rest. When stillness spreads, it ripples outward like waves in a pond. Detachment here does not mean retreating from others, but softening enough to join in a rhythm greater than yourself. A Zen story tells of a traveler who entered a village late at night, anxious and weary from his journey. To his surprise, every home was dark, every voice silent. He felt his own body relax, as if the stillness of the village had entered his bones. The next morning, he told the head monk, "I thought I needed a bed. What I really needed was your silence." Think of how restless the world can feel. Phones buzzing, cities humming, people rushing even in the middle of the night. Yet when you imagine an entire village asleep, you realize the world does not demand your wakefulness. You are allowed to join the rest. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine lanterns in the windows of houses around you, flickering softly. Exhale. Picture one window darkening after another as people drift to sleep. Whisper inwardly, "I rest with all." Repeat until you feel yourself part of a wider circle of peace. In some Zen monasteries, there's a quirky practice of everyone stopping work at once when the evening bell sounds. Whether a broom is mid-sweep or rice mid-stir, all tools are put down. The community enters silence together, honoring collective rest. Visitors often say that the hush feels deeper than any single meditation. A reflective question arises. What if your rest tonight is not only for you, but for everyone connected to you? Could the peace you cultivate ripple outward like lantern light across a sleeping village? Picture yourself walking the streets of that mountain town. The roofs are silvered with moonlight, the alleys empty, the air cool and still. Every home holds someone asleep, breathing softly, bodies at ease. you pause and breathe with them, feeling part of the great hush. The village sleeps, and you are carried into its embrace. Modern life often isolates rest, treating it as private or even selfish. But Zen reminds us, peace is collective. One person's stillness steadies another until entire villages, entire families, entire hearts breathe in unison. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine yourself lying in the heart of a sleeping village. Let the hush of many dreams surround you. Breathe with them, rest with them, and discover that you are never alone in your stillness. The crane and the fisherman reveal the quiet wisdom of patience. Imagine dawn breaking over a wide river, the sky painted in pale pink and gray. Mist drifts along the surface as a fisherman casts his net, slow and steady. Nearby, a white crane stands motionless in the shallows, its long legs rooted, its body perfectly still. Hours pass, yet the crane does not fidget, does not rush. It waits. When the time is right, it strikes with precision, lifting a fish in its beak. The fisherman, watching, bows slightly in respect. This image holds a teaching about patience as a form of strength. The Buddha often explained that craving and grasping lead to suffering. When we rush, when we demand, we tighten our own knots. Detachment teaches us to wait, to release the hunger for immediate results, and to trust the flow of life. A Zen story tells of a monk who asked his master how to achieve enlightenment quickly. The master pointed at the crane by the river and said, "It waits all morning for one fish, yet it eats. You wish to grab the whole river at once. How can your hunger ever be filled?" The student realized that haste blinds us, while patience reveals abundance. Think of the impatience that often steals rest, waiting for answers, expecting quick results, replaying worries because they feel unresolved. What if, like the crane, you allowed yourself to be still, trusting that what is needed will come in its own time? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine yourself standing in the river shallows, mist curling around your legs. Exhale. Picture yourself waiting calmly, body still, breath slow. Whisper inwardly, "I wait in peace." Each breath becomes a pause, a reminder that not everything needs rushing. In some Zen traditions, there is a quirky exercise of sitting by water with a fishing pole, but no bait. Monks hold the pole lightly, line trailing into the current. Nothing bites, nothing pulls. The point is not to catch, but to sit, to embody waiting without expectation. Visitors sometimes laugh, but those who try it often feel surprisingly bum. A reflective question arises. What in your life are you rushing toward tonight? Could it arrive more gently if you stopped grasping and simply waited, like the crane and the fisherman? Picture yourself now on that misty riverbank. The crane stands nearby, motionless, its feathers glowing faintly in the rising light. The fisherman rows quietly, casting his net with care. The water flows on, calm and endless. You breathe with them, learning patience not as effort, but as presence. The world does not hurry, yet everything is provided in time. Modern life often glorifies speed, fast answers, instant messages, immediate gratification. Yet Zen reminds us, the river flows at its own pace, and the crane eats well by waiting. So, tonight, as you drift into sleep, practice the patience of the crane. Stand quietly in your imagination. Breathe with the river, and let the day's rushing fall away. In stillness, you discover the quiet abundance already waiting for you. The empty room with one window teaches us how simplicity brings unbound clarity to a restless mind. Imagine walking into a small wooden room. The floor is bare, the walls plain, and there is only one square window. Through it, moonlight streams in, painting a soft rectangle of silver on the floor. Nothing clutters the space. No decorations, no distractions. The emptiness of the room feels spacious, as if the air itself is lighter, easier to breathe. This image carries the teaching of simplicity and focus. The Buddha often emphasized that excess, whether in possessions, thoughts, or desires, clouds the mind. Simplicity, on the other hand, clears the fog. When we strip away what is unnecessary, even a single window can offer enough beauty to fill the heart. A Zen story tells of a master who brought a student into such a room. The student asked, "Why is there nothing here?" The master pointed to the window and said, "Because nothing is needed when light itself can enter." The student realized that peace does not come from what we add, but from what we allow. Think about your own inner room tonight. Is it cluttered with too many voices, worries, and unfinished tasks? What if you opened a single window instead, letting stillness and clarity in? Detachment here means loosening the grip on clutter, both physical and mental, and finding rest in what remains. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine entering a quiet, empty room. Exhale, picture moonlight streaming through a single window. Whisper inwardly, this is enough. Each breath allows the room to grow brighter, simpler, and more spacious within your heart. In some Zen monasteries, there's a quirky tradition of having meditation rooms with almost nothing inside, just a mat, perhaps a candle, and a window. Visitors sometimes find the emptiness unsettling at first, but over time, they discover that their thoughts slow, their bodies ease, and the simplicity becomes a balm for the spirit. A reflective question arises. What would happen if you simplified your mind tonight? What if, instead of filling the room with noise, you sat quietly with one window of light? Picture yourself now in that empty room. The floor creaks softly as you sit. The walls are plain, but the window glows with silver moonlight. The rectangle of light on the floor seems alive, shifting gently as clouds pass. You breathe, realizing that this is enough. No clutter, no weight, just space and light. Modern life often teaches us to seek more things, more information, more activity. Yet Zen reminds us, less can be the doorway to peace. So tonight, as you rest, enter the empty room within your imagination. Open its single window. Let the moonlight fall across the floor of your heart and rest deeply in the simplicity that has always been waiting for you. Night rain on the wooden roof becomes a lullaby of impermanence. Imagine lying beneath an old roof while raindrops fall steadily in the dark. Each drop strikes the wood with a soft patter, blending into a rhythm that is never the same twice. Sometimes it grows stronger, like a drum roll across the shingles. Other times, it softens into a whisper, almost fading into silence. You don't control the rain. You only listen. And in that listening, peace arrives. This is the teaching of acceptance. The Buddha often reminded his followers that everything arises and passes: joy, sorrow, even the storm. To cling to a sound, a feeling, or a thought is like trying to hold rain in your hands. It slips away, and the struggle leaves you tired. When you accept the falling, moment by moment, the sound itself becomes soothing. A Zen story tells of a monk who could not sleep because of the rain pounding on the roof. He tossed, turned, and cursed the noise. His teacher said, "Do not fight the rain. Let it be your song." The monk tried, and slowly the restless sound became a rhythm that rocked him to sleep. He discovered that peace wasn't in silencing the rain, but in listening differently. Think about the noises in your life that trouble you. The chatter of thoughts, the hum of unfinished tasks, the voices that linger in memory. What if you let them become like night rain, just sounds passing over the roof of your mind? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine a raindrop falling onto the roof. Exhale, hear its sound fading into silence. Whisper inwardly, "This too passes." Continue with your breath. Each inhale, a new drop. Each exhale, its fading echo. Soon, your mind joins the rain's rhythm, steady and calm. In some Zen monasteries, monks meditate during storms instead of seeking shelter in silence. They sit listening to thunder, rain, and wind, treating each sound as a teacher. One quirky tradition is to count the raindrops for as long as they can, not with numbers, but with attention. Drop, 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 until the boundary between the listener and the rain dissolves. A reflective question arises. What if the very noises you resist could become your lullabies? Could you rest more deeply by allowing sound to be sound, without turning it into a battle? Picture yourself now beneath that wooden roof. The lantern beside you flickers, the air smells of wet earth, and rain drums gently above. At first, the sound is many drops. Then it becomes one continuous flow, like a river on the roof. You breathe with it, your body sinking into the floor, until the rain feels like part of your own breath. Modern life often tries to silence everything. Noise canceling, shutting out, fighting disturbance. But Zen reminds us, peace does not come from control. It comes from listening, from letting the rain be rain. So tonight, as you lie in bed, imagine night rain on a wooden roof. Let its rhythm soften your thoughts, wash your worries away, and lull you into the kind of sleep only the storm's song can bring. The monk who drew circles teaches us about returning again and again to center. Imagine a courtyard where a monk kneels on smooth sand with a long wooden stick. He begins at the middle, drawing a circle slowly, the line widening outward in perfect rhythm. When he finishes, he erases it with one sweep and starts again. From dawn to dusk, he repeats this practice. Draw, erase, draw, erase. A visitor once asked, "Why erase something so carefully made?" The monk replied, "Because the circle is never gone. It lives in the act of drawing." This is the teaching of repetition and renewal. The Buddha often spoke of the middle way, the balance point between extremes. Each circle is a return to balance, a reminder that even if we stray, we can always come back. Restlessness often comes from believing we must finish something or make it perfect. But peace lies in the act of returning. A Zen story tells of a student who despaired over his wandering mind during meditation. "I keep losing focus," he said. The master handed him a stick and asked him to draw circles in the sand. "Each time you lose the line," the master said, "return to the center." After hours of practice, the student realized that the act of returning was itself the heart of meditation. Think about your own day. Perhaps your thoughts scattered, your mood wavered, your patience frayed. You may feel you failed somehow because you didn't stay centered. But detachment reminds us that perfection is not the goal. Returning is. Each breath is another chance to begin again. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine drawing a circle with your breath. Exhale, picture completing it. Whisper inwardly, "I return." With each cycle, let the circle dissolve, then begin again. No striving, only rhythm. Soon your breath itself feels like the monk's circles, endless and steady. In some Zen monasteries, there is a quirky exercise of drawing enso, circles painted with a single brush stroke. Monks do this daily, each circle different, some shaky, some bold, some broken. They are never corrected. The practice teaches that imperfection is part of the whole, and each circle is complete as it is. A reflective question arises. What if every stumble in your life was not a failure, but a circle, simply bringing you back to center? Could you rest more deeply by embracing the return rather than chasing permanence? Picture yourself now in the courtyard at dusk. The monk kneels on the sand, lanterns flickering around him. He draws a circle, smooth and calm. Then he erases it with one sweep, the sand soft once more. You join him, drawing your own circle with the rhythm of your breath. The air is cool, the night quiet. You feel at home in the simple act of returning. Modern life often tells us to finish or perfect everything, to complete the line, to make it last. But Zen shows us the circle, endlessly drawn, endlessly erased, endlessly whole. So tonight, as you rest, let your breath be your circle. Draw it inward, release it outward, and return again and again. Each cycle carries you deeper into calm, where sleep itself becomes a circle, returning you to peace. The hidden waterfall reveals how calm can exist, even beneath constant motion. Imagine walking through a dense forest at twilight, the air damp and cool. You hear the faint roar of water long before you see it. As you follow the sound, the trees part to reveal a waterfall spilling down a cliff, crashing into a pool below. Mist rises into the air, catching the moonlight, turning the whole scene silver. At first, all you notice is the power of the water. Endless, unstoppable. But when you sit quietly by the pool, you notice something else. Beneath the roar, there is a deeper silence. The sound is constant, yet your mind begins to rest in the steadiness of it. This is the teaching of awareness within motion. The Buddha explained that life is always flowing. Thoughts, sensations, and experiences rushing like water. To resist the flow is exhausting. But when you listen differently, you realize that even within motion, stillness exists. The waterfall may roar, but the mind can rest in the constancy of its song. A Zen story tells of a monk who could not meditate because his thoughts crashed like water in his head. His master took him to a waterfall and said, "Listen." At first, the monk heard only chaos. Hours later, he realized the sound was unchanging, steady as the earth. "Your thoughts are the same," the master explained. "You mistake them for noise, but they are only the river flowing." Think of the waterfall inside you. Perhaps your worries, your restless planning, your regrets. They may feel overwhelming, but what if you could rest beneath the roar, listening not to each splash, but to the steady flow beneath it all? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine the waterfall's mist cooling your face. Exhale. Hear the steady roar fading into silence within your chest. Whisper inwardly, "Beneath the noise, I rest." With each breath, the waterfall becomes less a disturbance and more a lullaby. In some Zen monasteries, there is a quirky custom of meditating directly beside waterfalls. The noise is so overwhelming that words and thoughts become meaningless. After a while, the monks report feeling as if the sound disappears, replaced by deep stillness. The practice is meant to show that peace does not depend on quiet. It depends on how you listen. A reflective question arises. What if your mind's noise is not an enemy, but a waterfall? Could you stop resisting and instead rest in the constancy of its flow? Picture yourself now by the hidden waterfall. Lanterns flicker on the rocks, mist drifts across your skin, and the moon glows high above. The water falls endlessly, but instead of chaos, you hear steadiness. Your breath joins the rhythm, slow and calm. The roar becomes a song of release, carrying your worries downstream. Modern life often insists on eliminating noise, shutting it out, covering it, fighting it. But Zen whispers, even in the waterfall, stillness is here. So tonight, if your thoughts feel loud, imagine yourself by the hidden waterfall. Sit quietly. Breathe with its flow, and let the roar carry you not into chaos, but into the deeper silence waiting beneath. The candle that shares its flame shows us how peace multiplies when given away. Imagine a dark hall where a single candle burns on a low wooden table. Its glow is warm, but small, pushing back only a little of the surrounding night. A monk enters carrying an unlit candle. He touches his wick to the flame, and suddenly there are two lights. Then another monk enters, then another, until the hall glows with dozens of flames. Each new light does not weaken the first. It only adds more brightness to the room. This is the teaching of generosity and interconnection. The Buddha often emphasized that kindness is not diminished when shared. In fact, it grows stronger. Anger and negativity shrink when held alone, but compassion spreads like candlelight, multiplying without end. Detachment here means letting go of the fear of losing something by giving. Instead, we discover that the act of sharing is its own fullness. A Zen story tells of a villager who complained he had too little to offer others. A monk handed him a candle and said, "Light another." The villager hesitated, afraid his own flame would die. But when he tried, his candle still burned just as strong, and another now glowed beside it. The monk said, "So it is with kindness. You never lose by giving. Think of the moments when you held back comfort, peace, or patience because you feared depletion. What if, instead, you shared a kind word, a gentle presence, or even your own calm breath? You might find that what you give returns tenfold. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine holding a lit candle in your hands. Exhale, picture passing its flame to another. Whisper inwardly, "I share my light." With each breath, imagine the hall around you filling with candles, the darkness receding until only warmth remains. In some Zen temples, there is a quirky tradition of passing flame during ceremonies. Monks sit in circles, each with a candle, waiting for the flame to arrive. When it comes, they light their candle and bow, then pass it on. The hall slowly transforms into a sea of flickering lights. The ritual shows that peace grows brighter when each person participates. A reflective question arises. What flame can you share tonight, even if only in imagination? Could your inner peace grow stronger by letting it reach beyond yourself? Picture yourself now in the candle-lit hall. The wooden floor glows, shadows dance gently on the walls, and warmth hums through the air. Your candle burns steadily in your hands. Around you, countless flames flicker, each born from one flame that chose to be shared. You breathe, realizing the room's brightness is not separate from your own. Modern life often emphasizes guarding, holding tight, keeping for oneself. But Zen reminds us, when you give, you do not lose. You multiply. So tonight, as you rest, imagine your breath as a candle. Each inhale draws in warmth. Each exhale passes light to the world. Let your flame glow quietly and drift into sleep, surrounded by the gentle radiance of shared peace. The sparrow at dawn reminds us that peace can be found in the smallest, most fleeting moments. Imagine the first light of morning spreading across a quiet village. The sky softens from deep blue to pale gold. The world is still mostly asleep, but on a wooden fence, a tiny sparrow flutters and lands. It tilts its head, puffs its feathers against the chill, and lets out a few delicate chirps. The song is simple, hardly noticed by most, but in that moment, it fills the air with life. Then the sparrow takes flight, vanishing into the sky, leaving only silence behind. This is the teaching of presence in the ordinary. The Buddha often spoke of mindfulness not as something grand, but as awareness of what is here now. A bird's call, the warmth of a cup, the breath entering and leaving, each is enough to anchor us in the present. Detachment means releasing the hunger for extraordinary moments and resting in the quiet gifts already around us. A Zen story tells of a master who asked his students what sound awakened them most deeply. One answered, "The temple bell." Another said, "The wind in the trees." A third spoke of thunder. The master shook his head and said, "For me, it is the sparrow at dawn." The students laughed, but the master explained, "Because it is so small, it reminds me not to overlook the ordinary." Think of the sparrows in your own life, the fleeting details that appear and vanish quickly. Perhaps a smile from a stranger, the sound of rain on glass, or the warmth of a blanket. These tiny moments often hold more peace than the grand ones we chase. Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine hearing the faint chirp of a sparrow. Exhale. Picture it fading into silence. Whisper inwardly, this is enough. With each breath, let yourself rest in the simple presence of one small sound, one small moment. In some Zen monasteries, there is a quirky tradition of listening for the very first sound at dawn. Monks sit quietly, waiting in stillness until something stirs. The call of a bird, the creak of bamboo, the whisper of wind. They bow to the first sound they hear, treating it as the morning's teacher. A reflective question arises. What small sound or sight today did you overlook? Could it have been the sparrow at dawn, carrying a message of peace you almost missed? Picture yourself now in a quiet village as the sun begins to rise. The houses are still, the air cool, the sky painted with pale light. On a fence, a sparrow chirps, its song soft but clear. You listen, heart still, until the bird takes flight. The silence that follows feels like a blessing, a gentle reminder that even the briefest song can awaken peace. Modern life often urges us to seek bigger, louder, more impressive experiences. But Zen whispers, peace is often in the smallest details, fleeting but profound. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, listen for your own sparrow at dawn. Let a single breath, a single sound, a single moment be enough, and rest in the quiet wonder of the ordinary. The returning path home reminds us that the journey of seeking always circles back to stillness within. Imagine walking along a forest trail you have traveled many times before. The trees lean overhead, branches swaying gently in the night air. Lanterns guide your way, glowing softly as though they have been waiting for you. At first, you may feel as though you are wandering far, but then you recognize the bend in the path, the familiar stones, the old wooden gate. You realize you are not moving toward somewhere new. You are returning home. This is the teaching of inner refuge. The Buddha often taught that peace is not found by reaching outward endlessly, but by returning inward. Detachment here means loosening the idea that fulfillment is elsewhere. Instead, we learn to see that rest and calm were always within us, waiting patiently for our return. A Zen story tells of a monk who traveled for years seeking enlightenment. At last, weary, he returned to his monastery. As he entered the gate, he heard the evening bell and suddenly laughed, tears streaming down his face. "I have been searching far and wide," he said, "but the sound of home was always here." Think of how often life pulls you outward, toward tasks, expectations, desires, and worries. You may feel far from peace, as though it lies at the end of some distant road. But what if, like the monk, you realized that every step you take can lead you home to yourself? Here's a practice for tonight. Inhale. Imagine walking slowly along the familiar forest path. Exhale. Picture the glow of lanterns leading you back. Whisper inwardly, "I am home." With each breath, feel the ground steady beneath your feet, guiding you inward toward rest. In some Zen traditions, there is a quirky exercise where monks walk in circles around the temple grounds. At first, it feels repetitive, but eventually, the walkers realize the path is symbolic. No matter how far they go, they always return to the same gate, the same home. The circle itself becomes a meditation on belonging. A reflective question arises. What if everything you've been chasing was already within reach? Could you rest more deeply by remembering that the path always leads back to the stillness in your own heart? Picture yourself now on the returning path. The night is quiet, the air cool, and lanterns flicker like stars between the trees. You walk slowly, recognizing each turn, each step. At last, you arrive at the old wooden gate. Beyond it lies warmth, shelter, and peace. As you step through, you realize you never truly left. Home was always here. Modern life often insists we must travel farther, earn more, seek endlessly before we can rest. But Zen reminds us, the journey ends where it begins, in the heart, in the breath, in the simple awareness of being alive. So tonight, as you lie in stillness, remember the returning path. Each breath is a step, each exhale a lantern, each pause a gate opening. You are already home, already safe, already resting. Now the path softens, like footsteps fading into moss. The stories of lanterns, bamboo groves, bridges, sparrows, and waterfalls have led you here, not to somewhere new, but to the stillness you carried all along. As your breath slows, notice how your body unwinds on its own. Shoulders drop into the bed. Hands rest loosely, no longer grasping. Your jaw softens. Your eyelids grow heavy. The weight of the day slips away like leaves drifting down a stream. Nothing to hold, nothing to chase, just the gentle rhythm of your breathing, steady as the tide. Imagine once more the forest path under moonlight. Lanterns glow faintly, fireflies rise, and the night air brushes your skin like a kind hand. Each step grows slower until you no longer need to walk. You simply stand, surrounded by peace. You realize the journey was never about distance. but about returning to this quiet, this ease, this home within yourself. The mind may still offer a final thought or two, fluttering like moths around a lantern. But soon, even they fold their wings, settling into the dark. What remains is the glow itself, soft, steady, unbroken. Breathe deeply now. Inhale as though the night sky itself fills your lungs. Exhale as though you are laying your burdens down into the earth. Feel the comfort of knowing that peace is not far. It is here. It has always been here. And as you drift into sleep, let this truth rest in your heart. The way home is always open. The quiet path always waiting. The stillness always yours. You have nothing left to do but surrender to it.